This video is brought to you by Wise. More on them later. So you're thinking about moving to Thailand and you've set yourself a rental budget of around $1,500 a month. That's about 50,000 Thai baht. And the question is, what kind of place does that actually get you? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. I spent the past week digging through hundreds of listings from all over the country, from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, Phuket to Koh Samui, Hua Hin to Pattaya, and I've picked out 55 real properties in this price range that are either currently available or coming available within the next month. The reason I've done this is because if you've ever searched for a rental in Thailand before, you'll know that the market here is a mess. There's no centralized portal, no MLS, and no real oversight on listings and on the service side of the industry. So half the time, what you're seeing is either outdated, inaccurate, or already rented. That's why the listings in this video follow a simple rule. They have to be available now or within the next month, and they have to be places that I'd personally shortlist if I were in the market myself. We'll go through all of them rapid fire style, city by city, showing a few condos, a few townhouses, and a few standalone homes in each area. And by the end of this, you'll have a much clearer picture as to what kind of rental lifestyle 50,000 baht a month can actually get you across Thailand. Also, I'll chapter this video out by location, so if you're only interested in one specific part of the country, just check the chapters below and jump to the chapter that matches where you're interested in. Now, one final thing before we get into the video is this. I get it. You don't need to spend 1,500 bucks a month to find a good rental in Thailand. There's lots of decent places available for far cheaper, but to be fair, you could also go far more expensive as well. The truth is, there's lots of expats in Thailand with much bigger budgets than you might expect, and for a lot of people, the cheapest possible option isn't what's necessarily appealing about potential life here. So that's why I decided on this $1,500 US budget, 50,000 baht a month. And as you'll see, what you get in different locations varies pretty significantly. So with that said, let's get into it. So this is a solid 2-bedroom condo in a really convenient part of the city. You're close to RE, which is one of Bangkok's best neighborhoods, and you're also near the airport rail link, which is great if you travel often or need to get across the city east to west pretty easily. 96 square meters, 2-bed, 2-bath, built in 2017 and priced at 50,000 baht a month, which feels pretty spot on. The developer is Supalai, and Supalai is a pretty well-known developer in Thailand. And ultimately, this is just a good example of what a clean, modern unit in a solid location looks like at this price point in Bangkok. Now, this next one's a bit different. It's in an older building, but it's bigger, in a great location, and has some nice renovations. I found this one on Facebook. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath unit in Pattaya Condo, located right near the Saladang BTS station, which is one of the best connected areas in the city. It's 102 square meters in a low-rise building, and while the natural light isn't that good, the unit has been nicely renovated, especially this kitchen here and the bathrooms there. For a place of this size, in this location with a semi-fresh interior, you know, 50,000 baht per month feels somewhat fair. Now, this next one here is right up my alley. It's an older building from the early 90s, but the interior's been completely gut renovated, and the design, in my opinion, is gorgeous. You got the wall paneling, nice clean lines, great use of space. It just has that wow factor you don't usually get at this price point. You're in Planchit, which is one of the most sought after neighborhoods in the city. That's where all the high-so Thais are hanging out. And I guess the reason for this pricing is because you are a bit far from the BTS, as you can see here. You got 100 square meters listed at 50,000 baht, recently posted. Yeah, I mean, this is one I'd consider myself if I was in the market for a new place. Now, this next one things take a bit of a different direction. Same budget, much more no frills, but you're in one of the city's most popular areas, and that's Phrom Phong, which is also one of the most expensive areas and expat heavy areas in all of Bangkok. It's an older building, 95 square meters. While there's nothing flashy about it, the layout feels pretty solid, and you do get some nice perks, including an in-unit washer and dryer, which is pretty rare in Bangkok. You'd be surprised. The bathrooms, yeah, a bit outdated. And for me personally, Phrom Phong isn't my favorite area, but listen, if you're a remote worker, a digital nomad, and you're looking to be right in the mix, this place might be worth a look. Next up, this one is for those chasing full-blown luxury, even if it means sacrificing space. This is your classic luxury Bangkok box in the sky. Just 45 square meters, but top tier finishes, top tier location, and a building that actually holds up here. I've had several friends live here, and it is a truly high-end condo in this city where the quality actually does match the look, which isn't true for all buildings that look like this. You're less than 200 meters from Thong La BTS. The amenities are off the charts. And yes, at 50,000 baht a month, it's very expensive for the size. But for someone who wants compact, clean, and proper luxury, I do get why you might want to check this one out. Okay, so with all that said, we've seen what 1,500 bucks, 50,000 baht per month gets you in the sky in this city. Now let's come back down to the ground level and see what the same budget gets you if you want a little bit of space, a little bit more privacy, and a bit more of a suburban feel. So this is about as classic as a Bangkok townhouse gets. Suburban, multi-level, and set inside a muban, which is basically a local gated community, but a little bit less pretentious in a lot of cases. You're out in Lat Phrao, just 25-30 minutes out of the city center. No traffic, that is. And you are really close to the new yellow monorail line, the new yellow MRT line, which is quickly changing how livable some of these, I guess, city suburbs in Bangkok actually are and how livable they are. The house here is 165 square meters, 4 beds, and yeah, I mean, the finishes aren't 5-star, but you're getting proper space, decent connectivity, and a very livable setup for 50K a month. For the right person, this makes a ton of sense. Now, this one's a smaller 2-bedroom townhouse out in Chiang Mai, about 146 square meters, and recently confirmed as available. The interior finishes actually look to be a step up from the last place. More modern, a bit more cohesive, but you are much further out. Pretty close to the airport, actually. You are near Mega Bang now, which has everything you'd ever want, including Top Golf and international shops, but you know, if you're hoping to be close to the city or transit lines, this option isn't it. But still, for a younger, quieter couple perhaps that wants a clean, safe, well-designed space out in the Bangkok suburbs, this is a solid option at 49K per month. Now, this one's interesting here. It's being presented as a townhouse, but at just 70 square meters, it feels more like a renovated shop house tucked into an inner city Bangkok street. You're in a decent location, way more central than other townhouse options we've covered so far. And the bathroom here does look recently redone, but the space is tight, especially in the bedrooms. And it's not totally clear, is this part of a larger development or is this just a one-off unit? That's the thing with these property platforms here in Thailand. Sometimes what's shown and what's real don't totally line up because this is a bit confusing. Still though, if you want unique and central, it might be worth investigating further. Next up, this one is out in Bang Na area again. And it's about, I guess, 2/3 the way from central Bangkok to Suvarnabhumi Airport. It's just got good energy here, 133 square meters, really nice finishes, big high ceilings in the bedroom, which make the space feel open and breathable. It's inside a Muban again, so quiet suburban living, which some might find too mellow, but for the right person, this could be a slam dunk here. And shout out to Mr. Rian, the listing agent. I don't know him personally, but based on that photo right there, that's a guy I'd rent from. Good place, good vibe. This one is definitely my favorite townhouse we've looked at so far. So yeah, that wraps up the townhouse section here. A mix of some inner city quirky property and some suburban property. Now though, let's move into single family homes. So this one's an interesting one. It's a 2-bedroom standalone house near BTS en route. And while I've lived in this area before and personally didn't like it myself, the property itself is interesting. It's large. It's really large, 300 square meters, and definitely has decent potential. But it's pretty simple right now and looks like it comes totally unfurnished. You know, it's clean space, good layout, has a decent patio, I guess, but just not a ton of character. I guess still though, for someone who wants, you know, to be sort of in the city, have a clean blank slate and some room to breathe, this isn't a bad option. Now, this one here is a great example of just how messy some of the listings in Thailand can be. It's listed as 122 square meters, but when you scroll down, the owner actually says it's 482 square meters, which is probably more accurate based on the photos. That kind of discrepancy isn't unusual, especially on Facebook. You know, the pins are often wrong. Square meterage is usually way off, and you really have to read between the lines. That said though, you know, discrepancies and all, this place is interesting. It's got 7 bedrooms, 3 baths, got a big courtyard, huge kitchen. It's old, but it is very clean. It looks like there's been some fresh paint applied and some nicely polished floors here. It's out near MRT Sinut, which is also on the yellow line, like we just discussed not too long ago. And with a bit of vision, this could really be a nice, spacious house, single family out in the Bangkok burbs. This next one, same sort of story as far as discrepancies go. It's a gorgeous home, but just a reminder of how messy this market can be. The listing says it's a detached house, but I don't think that's true. I mean, based on the photos, it looks like an end-row townhouse here. This kind of mislabeling, like I said, is pretty common. It's not that the property's bad. Like I said, I actually like it, but it just is such a clear example of how unregulated this service market really is. I mean, there's no MLS, no central portal, and really very few people verifying listings. And how do you know which people to trust, right? So I mean, even with places like this, you have to read between the lines a bit and be very careful. That said though, this is still a good listing, calm, livable, and quiet suburban pocket of Bangkok. Now, moving back into the city here, this one's located in an area called Wai Kwang, which is a pretty fascinating part of the city with a lot of Chinese influence. Pretty good street life here. There's a lot of energy, a lot of hustle and bustle. The house itself is obviously Thai style from the outside, but it looks like it's had some decent interior updates done. It's about 160 square meters, listed at 45,000 baht a month. And while it's not huge, what really stands out here is the location. And by the looks of it, you're really close to the MRT, which means you're only a few MRT stops from Sukhumvit, which is the core of Bangkok, or one of a few cores, which is pretty neat. You know, so based on that, having a standalone home in this part of the city is pretty cool, right? I'm not sure I'd live here myself, just because I don't, as much as I think Wai Kwang's a cool area, I probably wouldn't want to live there. But this is definitely one of the more unique listings I've seen as far as single family homes go, and what I would consider a somewhat central part of Bangkok. Now, this next one here is out in an area called Chiang Mai, way up in the northeastern suburbs of Bangkok. And this is about as suburban Bangkok gets. A big house, 4 beds, 4 baths, almost 300 square meters. And it was just completed in 2023. You're looking at a gated community, clean finishes, good layout, and a little yard, all for 45,000 baht a month, but you are far. I mean, realistically, it would be at least an hour, probably more, to get into the city, and then forget about making that trip in rush hour. Who knows what that would be. So though, I mean, if you're after American-style suburban living, then this is pretty decent value at well under 1,500 US dollars per month. So that wraps up Bangkok and hopefully gives you a pretty solid feel for how far 50,000 baht will stretch you, depending on the neighborhood and your property type and what type of lifestyle you're after as part of life in this city. But quick pause here, because I want to talk about actually locking in these places and how it all works. So, you know, let's say you found yourself a great place to rent, right? Perhaps you found it on Facebook, perhaps you worked with an agent, maybe a friend of a friend helped you out, whatever. Either way, you've decided on a property that checks all your boxes and you want to lock it in now. Now's the time. Well, here in Thailand, at least in the major expat hubs, most landlords are going to ask you for a 1 or 2 month security deposit, usually 2 months, plus the first month's worth of rent up front. So that means you're often sending the equivalent of 2 or 3 months worth of rent all in one go, just to lock in your long-term rental of choice, right? So specific to this video, you know, if I was going to rent a place for 50,000 baht a month here in Thailand, you know, that's 100 or 150,000 baht I'm going to need to somehow get to the future landlord to get everything finalized, right? And that's exactly where the sponsor of today's video, Wise, comes in. And instead of talking about it, I figured the best way to explain how everything works would be to actually show you. So let's go through a real life example here where I actually pay my landlord right now in real time, given that it's the end of the month and I got to pay my rent. So for me, I'm just going to open up the Wise app here, click my Thai baht balance, click send, enter the landlord's Thai banking details, which I don't need to do as I already have them listed as a contact here. Enter the amount and then hit send. From there, I'll always share the transaction status with my landlord over line because Thais love these little transfer slips so they can track the money through to their Thai bank account. And that's it. I'm done. That's all I do each month to pay my rent. It's great for the case I just showed. And like I said, it's also great if you want to lock in property over here and need to make these deposit payments and advance payment as part of that, especially if you don't yet have a Thai bank account. Now, on that note, these are just two specific examples, but if you wanted to, once you did in fact have your Thai bank account, you could also use Wise to transfer funds into that Thai bank account from your home country as part of your long-term life here. There's a lot of retirees, remote workers, and expats in general in Thailand that go down this path, right? Now, the obvious next question is, well, how do you actually get Thai baht into Wise in the first place so you can make that payment like you just made? Well, again, I figured it's best if I just show you this. So once you create your Wise account, you can open balances in all sorts of different currencies like this. So for me, given that I'm a Canadian, I'll add funds in Canadian dollars like this. You'll see a few different funding options. I usually pick Interact e-Transfer, which is a Canadian service, but you get different options based on where you're from. Anyways, from there, I'll just go ahead and add the money as so, and boom. I've officially added 1,000 bucks into Wise, which I can then convert into Thai baht like this, which is really, really nice. It's pretty easy. You know, it's nice because yes, the fees are small, but for me, more importantly, everything is upfront and transparent, which is really important to me because I don't really like surprises, especially with my money. You know what I mean? Nonetheless, once you have your Thai baht into Wise, you can then send directly to those in Thailand who hold accounts with these banks, which luckily are all major Thai banks. And you can do that just like I showed you how to do with my own personal landlord. It's a really useful tool that I've used extensively over the past 4.5 years of living in Thailand. Anyways, whether you're getting ready to lock in a long-term rental or manage some of your monthly Thai living expenses, Wise is a great way to do it. It's a great tool to have in your toolkit. And you can sign up using the link at the top of the description below and have your choice between a fee-free transfer up to £500 or a free Wise debit card. So with all that said, let's head up to Chiang Mai up in the north, a city with completely different pace, energy, and yes, price points. In Chiang Mai, you don't need to spend 50,000 baht a month to get something decent. Far from it. The cost of living up there is much lower than Bangkok and much lower than a lot of other parts of Thailand. So you'll notice right away that there just aren't as many listings at this price point as there would be in other areas, but that's what makes it kind of interesting. So let's see what we get here. So this is a 2-bed, 2-bath condo in Niman, which is one of the hearts of Chiang Mai. It's definitely the heart of Chiang Mai's digital nomad scene. I mean, tons of cafes, co-working spots, restaurants. It's pretty clean, it's pretty modern. You know, for the right person, it's well located. Not everybody would like life in Niman, but a lot of people would. But again, at 50,000 baht per month, it does feel a bit steep to me for what you're actually getting. You know, to be fair, the unit, it looks well built. The area is decent, but you know, if I had this kind of budget in Chiang Mai, I wouldn't be looking at condos, period. I'd be looking at a nice big house, pool villa, and we'll get to these shortly. So next up here, what do we got? Oh, okay, so yeah, next, I've actually been to this building before. It's right up near the northwest gate of the old city, and it has a pretty nice feel to it. This particular unit is 99 square meters, and the finishes give off a bit of a European vibe. It's nicely renovated, good kitchen, pretty tasteful tile work here. It's listed at 55,000 Thai baht, which again feels high for a condo in Chiang Mai, but you know, for the right person, I guess perhaps a retired couple who wants a life with, you know, zero maintenance and just a simple lifestyle, I could see this working. But for me, at this price point, I'd still want to get at least a townhouse or a single family house. That said though, the last condo before we move on to these houses is this one here. And it looks great on paper, but there's a catch. I've been to this building before. It's a famous building and it's called the Astra. While the units look great, it's basically Airbnb central. Short-term guests come and go constantly. It's a revolving door, which is why I personally would never choose to live here as part of like long-term living. That said though, it is a good looking unit, you know, just under 100 square meters, modern layout, big views and a gorgeous rooftop pool. Again, at 45,000 baht per month. It's not something I would ever go for, but for the right person, maybe. To me, it reminds me of like the classic, you know, Bangkok skyrise condos, just with more space than what you'd get in the city at this price point, thanks to, you know, the different pricing levels up in Chiang Mai. You know, similar to the condos here, just shifting into the townhouses. Well, funny enough, I actually couldn't find that many townhouses at this price point in Chiang Mai, which I think is a little bit evident as to what the market looks like up there and the prices of things. Not too many condos more than 40,000 baht per month. And same thing, not too many townhouses more than 40,000 baht per month. That said though, I did find this option in Suthep, which is an awesome area. Right near Chiang Mai University. It actually has one of my favorite night markets and one of my favorite little dessert shops of all time up there. The house itself is older Thai style, but it's been given a pretty funky renovation, some eclectic finishes, some cool artwork, and what looks to be a decent layout. I don't know what this pool or koi pond thing is in the front there. It's hard to say. That'd be a pretty small pool and a pretty big koi pond. So, I mean, it's not really my thing, and I don't really know what it is, but overall, you know, for the right person, it might be good because the place does have some character. Next up, this spot here is in a gated community, another Muban, just south of Chiang Mai, probably like 15 or 20 minutes into the old city. It's gorgeous. I mean, great curb appeal, nice wood flooring, clean kitchen. It definitely catches your eye, but this is a perfect example, again, of how messy listings can be here. The ad says 400 square meters, but if you read closer, it lists 320 square meters of usable space. And honestly, I still don't fully believe that. In Thailand, there's no standard definition of usable space. Sometimes, you know, they include the patio or the carport or even empty yard space. It's all up to interpretation of what the property owner, what the agent writes. And you just hope they do it in good faith, but it doesn't always happen. You know, back home where I'm from in Canada, there's rules around this. Like one that I can think of off the top of my head is if you have a bedroom in the basement, right? But it doesn't have a window of a certain size, you can't call it a bedroom in the actual listing. And everybody has to follow that rule. You know, that kind of uniformity just doesn't exist here, and it makes it really hard to know what's legit unless you see the place yourself. And then, you know, to make things even more confusing here, just look at the pool photos in this listing. These are clearly pictures of two completely different houses, right? So while the house here is nice, it's just a good reminder that you've always got to look closely and read carefully and always be ready to verify things in person as to not get catfished. Now, this one here is from Facebook Marketplace, and in my opinion, it's a bit of a gem. Now, to be fair, Facebook is chaotic, and trying to find properties on Facebook is pretty chaotic. You got to scroll through a lot of junk listings and garbage listings, but every once in a while you find something like this. And this place is, I guess, a small single-story property, but it feels almost like a mini designer home. The kitchen's gorgeous. The layout seems to flow pretty good. And you can tell whoever renovated this or maintains this or owns this property has some style. They got some good taste. It says here it's located in Chiang Mai and near Chiang Mai University, which actually lines up well with what the pin on the map shows here. You're 5 minutes from Doi Suthep hiking trail, close to local shops, and just a short drive into town. Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of place that if I was looking for a nice single family home up in Chiang Mai, I would probably try to check out in person. It's pretty funky, it's pretty well done, and just kind of has a cool, unique vibe to it. Now, with that said, here's another example of why you shouldn't sleep on Facebook Marketplace. Whether you're actively looking for listings yourself or just gathering some references for agents you're working with, you know, this platform, you can find some gems. So this space here, it's open, it's bright, pretty well designed. It looks like it's been nicely updated with some modern finishes, a decent layout, and a cool little courtyard with a plunge pool here. You know, for a 3-bed, 3-bath setup with this kind of aesthetic, I'd definitely be reaching out to the owner if I were in the market. You know, it's a nice spot. So with all that said, let's get back to it here. We're going down to Pattaya. So this place kicks things off with a bang. It's just 38 square meters, which is tiny. And at 50,000 baht a month, that feels pretty wild. And obviously, it's because this unit has what is likely some of the best ocean views in all of Pattaya. The building looks pretty modern, the amenities are solid, and the unit comes fully furnished, which is common in Thailand and pretty helpful if you're just settling in. That said though, I've lived in a 38 square meter place before myself, and I would never do it again. But, you know, for a single person who just wants really epic sunsets, modern high-rise living, I can see the appeal, even if the price feels steep. Now, this next one is in Arcadia Millennium Tower. Pretty modern 2-bedroom unit with solid views and somewhat clean finishes throughout. Looks like it's 71 square meters, available on June 1st, and based on the photos alone, it looks pretty nice. That said though, the Google reviews are a bit concerning, and my guess is that this building might see a lot of short-term renters, which is definitely something, if I was you, I'd want to look into before making any kind of long-term commitment to any property. That's really important, so always check reviews. Now, here's another one from Facebook. So 2 beds, 3 bath condo, 120 square meters, which feels actually pretty believable in this case based on the photos. It's clearly an older building, probably built in the mid-2000s, like circa 2006, something like this. And, you know, while the furniture isn't really my style, you can see the bones of the unit are clean. It's pretty functional. You get decent views, and you also get a location that appears to be a beachfront area. But, you know, the downside is there's no building name listed in this listing. So I have no idea to check where to check reviews, and no easy way to verify, is this location actually legitimate? Where is this building? What is the building's name? Like, these are all questions that you should get answered, you know, before you blindly go and look at every single property that you come across in real life, right? It becomes a bit of a challenge as part of your property and your rental search here in Thailand, especially if you're going at it independently. Next up though, let's shift into townhouses. So, you know, just like in Chiang Mai, there aren't many options at this price point that also meet our set criteria for this video. And this actually surprised me a bit more than it did in Chiang Mai. That said though, there's this place in, I guess it's called Karib Village. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correct. Just south of Pattaya in Jomtien, 45,000 baht. 300 square meters. Yeah, I don't buy that. Same with the 4-bed, 5-bath thing. I also don't buy that. You know, to me, this looks like it's a relatively small end unit townhouse. And while it is in a gated community with a, you know, Western style kitchen and clearly some decent renovations, I just don't buy the accuracy of the detail shown on the listing. Simple as that. But let's shift now into single family homes. So it looks like this one's located in a Mubon 30 minutes outside of Walking Street. And this is suburban living here. It's listed at 137 square meters, 3-bed, 2-bath. And honestly, this one feels pretty accurate. I totally buy that this place is legitimately 137 square meters of interior usable living space. It's a good reminder of how off some of the other listings could be. I mean, you see how crazy it is, right? That the townhouse we just looked at was listed at 300 square meters when you compare it to this, right? Anyways, the layout makes sense, the finishes look decent, and there's a compact but well done plunge pool out back. You know, for someone who wants a bit of space outside the chaos of the city, I really like this one. Next up, this house looks like it's just a 7-minute drive from Terminal 21. So we're in central Pattaya now, right in the heart of it all, or close to the heart of it all. And it definitely is much older and much more Thai style, but it's also much more spacious, airy, and feels genuinely livable. The finishes are simple, the bathrooms are no frills, and the view out back isn't great, but the owner has done a decent job here of furnishing the space and presenting it nicely. It's not modern or flashy, but it's clean, honest, and feels like decent value and in a decent location. And big respect to the agent here for, you know, showing the listing that actually feels transparent. I liked how they showed that back area with the grass that isn't particularly nice, but actually gives a real solid representation of how the property and where the property is situated. Here's another home in a Mubon, a little bit outside of central Pattaya. Pretty good example that you'll just see all over Thailand, as you can probably start to tell. These gated communities are everywhere, and this house looks like a pretty typical version of what is pretty much a carbon copy all over the country. You know, just over a few hundred square meters, fully furnished and with a clean European style interior. You got a decent Western kitchen, decent room sizes, small plunge pool out back. Nothing flashy, but looks to be pretty livable. And like I was saying, places like this aren't rare. There's literally hundreds of developments like this all across the country. So you're in luck if this is the kind of place you like. Now, let's go across the Gulf of Thailand here over to Hua Hin. So again, let me start by saying this. You definitely don't need to spend 50,000 baht a month on rent to live in a decent condo in Hua Hin. But if you are spending at this level, what we're about to cover is a pretty good example of what you're going to be paying for. So this unit is at Ban San Dao. It's nothing flashy on the inside. It is bright, it is nice and simple, but this location is incredible. You're a stone's throw from the beach, probably literally less than 100 meters, and you've got direct beach access. So yeah, you're not paying for the finishes here, and you're not even paying for that much space. You're paying for what is legitimately beachside living and beachfront living, and if that's your vibe, I get it. Now, here's another 50,000 baht condo option in Hua Hin, and just like the last one, what you're really paying for here is location. The unit itself, it's fine. It's a bit more Western, hardwood floors, glass shower doors, things like this. It does feel a bit dark inside, but anyways, nonetheless, what you're paying for here is the location. I mean, if I go over to Google Maps, it looks like, even though this unit might not be right on the beach, it looks like the building complex that this unit is in has direct beach access. So, you know, the value here isn't in the luxury finishes. It's in being this close to the water and being part of what is a beachfront community by the looks of it on Google Maps. So if that's your priority, it makes sense. Now, I wanted to end this condo section off with something a bit different. So this unit is in a building called the Palm Pavilion. And every time I'm in Hua Hin and I walk down that really long stretch of beach, I find myself always looking up at those older condo towers. If you've been there and, you know, walked that beach, you know what I'm talking about. And wondering to myself though, like, what are the views like from up there, like right on the water at sunrise, because Hua Hin faces east? Well, this listing answers that, and that's why I wanted to show it. It's 155 square meters, definitely very dated inside, but man, those sunrise views over the Gulf of Thailand are spectacular. This place is a perfect example of something that I've always thought would be incredible to buy and actually gut renovate and then end up with something really, really special. You get, you know, the good bones of the older building, the actual space and square meterage of the older building, but with a gut renovation, gorgeous interiors inside, and kick-ass views over the Gulf of Thailand. So this unit gives you a bit of a glimpse into what that lifestyle might look like, just the older side of it, right? Now, shifting focus into townhouses here, crazy enough, I couldn't find a single townhome in Hua Hin that met our search criteria, which again isn't too surprising for me. So let's just jump into single family homes here. And this one's a good place to start. It's just recently listed, and to me it looks like a well-built, decent quality house. Yes, it's a bit dated, but the bones look solid and the layout's pretty clean. The whole place feels peaceful and pretty well kept. 200 square meters, 3 bed, 3 bath, 48K a month. You're not on the beach, and well, you don't have any big views. In return, you get space and what appears to be some decent privacy in a decent location, not too far from town. Now, this next one is your classic new development house in Hua Hin, the kind of thing you'll see all over the outskirts of town. 3 bed, 3 bath, 200 square meters. brand new move-on, very Western layout, bungalow style, and clearly designed for suburban living. It looks great, but you know, a lot of these places, the build quality isn't the best. I'm not going to go as far to say it's bad, but just some of the finishings in a lot of these sorts of places are pretty weak, which if you're a renter is fine. And we're talking about renting in this video, so no sweat. But if you're a buyer, you know, you're definitely going to want to feel what you're purchasing, because oftentimes, you know when something is poorly built or is cheap materials and when you don't. Now, the final single family home in Hua Hin that we're going to look at today actually isn't in Hua Hin at all. It's about 25-30 minutes south of Hua Hin in a quiet part of Thailand called Pramburi. I spent a weekend down there earlier this year with some Canadian friends of mine, and it's a nice part of the country. It's very rural, it's pretty laid back, and it almost feels like in Canada we call it cottage country. I don't know what you call it where you're from, but that's the vibe. It's countryside living. Now, this development caught my eye because there's some decent listings in here. So this one is 229 square meters, 58,000 baht a month. Just a bit over our benchmark of $1,500 US. But I just wanted to show it to give you a reference. It's nice, very nice, you know? Even though this listing has mixed real photos with just marketing images that don't match the actual property, you can tell this is a decent development that they're building out here. All right, time to head all the way down south to Phuket. Now, I know a lot of you watching might have mixed feelings about this island. I know I do. So I get it. The mass tourism, the overdevelopment, it can be a lot. In a lot of cases, it's a real shame. But to be fair, I also think the Phuket gets a bad rep. Like, there are pockets on that island that I think are genuinely awesome places to live, especially for expats. Like, I think there's quite a good expat scene on Phuket. You know, it's a beautiful island at the end of the day. The beauty hasn't gone away as far as I'm concerned. That said, the prices in Phuket and in Koh Samui, where we're going next, jump significantly here. So if we're keeping our budget at 50,000 baht per month for long-term rentals, you get a lot less than you do in a lot of other markets. So let's start with this unit here to illustrate. So this is in a part of the island called Coron, which is just inland from the beach. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath condo, just over 100 square meters. And it looks to be in a building that was built in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Kind of gives off like that Tampa, Florida apartment vibe. I remember when I was a kid, being the Canadians we are, we'd drive down, I think it's I-95 or I-75, one of those two freeways, down to Florida for March break, and we would stay in places just like this. Nonetheless, though, layout's pretty clean, balcony's a good size, and the beach looks like it could be walkable from here. And even though the building feels a bit dated, for somebody looking for a laid back, you know, beach adjacent condo building, I guess, you know, this seems like a decent option. But next up, we got this really big 1-bedroom unit in a small pocket of Phuket called Surin, which is a part of the island I quite like. This condo is in a development called San Suri. Gives you just under 110 square meters of living space, very open layout, very clean, and looks to be very livable. Now, there's no sea view, and the balcony looks right into the trees and the rooftop of a neighboring house, so it's not exactly scenic, but this is one important thing to flag, right? Like, Phuket, for 50,000 baht per month, like, that is not a high budget in Phuket. There's people down there that spend hundreds of thousands of baht per month on rent, and not just like a few people, lots of people. So this is really par for the course in Phuket. Like, these condos, you know, you're going to get super old, or in a case like this where it's a bit nicer, you're not going to get any view. Also, on top of that, this building here is called San Suri, and if I just do a little bit of extra research, I can see that it also runs as a hotel. and it's listed on sites like Expedia, hotels.com, which means this building is likely packed with a really big number of short-term guests, which for, you know, me and for other long-term rentals would 1000% be a deal breaker. It's not a bad unit. And this serene part of Phuket is a great part of the island, but I don't want to live in a hotel, and neither do you probably, right? So make sure you do your research and you really figure out who other tenants in the building are going to be. Now, this next one here, it's in Rawai. So this is the deep south of Phuket, and it's a part of the island that a lot of long-term expats really seem to like. I've only ever been there once. I spent an afternoon there, and it was nice. I enjoyed it. Good restaurants, and there are some beaches down there. You know, a lot of expats seem to like it, and the prices reflect that. Like, this building is just 50 square meters, so quite small. Even though it does come with an ocean view, this place is 50,000 baht per month for a 600 square foot condo in Thailand. Think about that. Welcome to Phuket. That's the reality, right? Phuket's expensive, and this price reflects that. So next up, we have the Homa project. So I've actually met the guy behind this development, and I've done a full walkthrough of this exact building a few years back. It's like a purpose-built concept building for digital nomads and remote workers. So think, you know, pretty sleek layouts, think strong Wi-Fi, your coffee co-working spaces, rooftop pools. You know, if you're a remote worker, like a digital nomad, it's hard to beat. This location is in Phuket Old Town. They have another one up in Bangkok. But this location's cool because it's actually walkable to, like I said, the Old Town, which is like a historical, almost colonial-esque part of the island. It just has that kind of architecture, which is very unique for any of the Thai islands. I mean, Koh Samui doesn't have that. Koh Chang doesn't have that. It's just, it's a bit different. But as you can see, at 50,000 baht per month and 53 square meters, like, it's pricey. And for me personally, I wouldn't want this kind of setup. It's just not the right fit for me. But for the right person, you know, for somebody that is more doing the digital nomad thing and wants to live around other like-minded people like that, then this would be a great place to live on the island. Let's shift into townhouses now, though. I think we've covered condos good enough here. So this one is in a pretty solid part of Phuket, up near Bangkok. There's lots going on up there. It's definitely one of the pricier parts of the island. 2-bed, 2-bath, 162 square meters. This is funny, of land and living space. Who knows what that means? This is what I mean. These listings, or the details, are always fuzzy. Like, is it 162 square meters of interior living space, or is the plot size 162 square meters? Who knows? It's anybody's best guess. Welcome to Thailand. Still though, the place itself looks pretty clean. It's modern. It's very Western in style. And if I were living in Phuket long term, this is probably the kind of place I'd seriously consider, if it's actually how big it says it is. I don't know about that. But one thing I really like about this here, and this is a little tidbit, is it's nice that the electricity is billed at the government rate, which definitely isn't always the case, especially in these tourist-heavy island zones. It can make a big difference over time, and it's not cheap. Sometimes you get upcharged on the electrical, like twice or triple what the government rate is. A couple of you have commented and let me know that this isn't allowed, which is probably true, but like a lot of other things in Thailand that shouldn't happen, this happens in spades throughout the country. So, you know, just realize that you should always look for government rate electricity. Nonetheless, so, assuming the size is accurate, I'm giving them a generous assumption here. This location, this feels like a really, really fair place to live, and it's a spot I would consider for myself. Now here's another townhome, or at least I think it's a townhome. It's located in Chalong, which is more, I guess, in the interior of the island. There aren't many details listed here aside from the classic hot deal alert tagline, as you can see. But from the photos, it looks pretty modern, pretty well done. That said, I can tell this place is absolutely minuscule. It's tiny. The kitchen's small, the rooms are tight, and even with the wide angle photography that they use to try to make it look bigger, it's clear that this place is miniature, right? It's listed at 48,000 baht per month, which feels high to me. But again, what do I know? This is Phuket. Demand is so strong, and I bet that place is going to get rented, and I bet it'll get rented at full price. Welcome to Thailand tourist land, right? Now, this last townhouse is definitely more city living than island living, and that's why I wanted to highlight it. It's in a Muban, close to the Phuket Old Town area, so you're not getting that beachy, laid-back island vibe at all. This is more just standard suburban living. I mean, this place could be in the suburbs of Bangkok, it could be the suburbs of Chiang Mai, suburbs of Pattaya. Like, this obviously doesn't scream Phuket, right? But, you know, the aesthetic's pretty good, and the size is pretty decent. Looks like a solid end-row unit, I guess. Not bad. Not bad. Again, pricey as usual though, Phuket pricing. Now let's shift into single family homes here on the island. So this option is in a development called Supalai Essence. It looks like it's available July 1st, 3 beds, 150 square meters, and built by the same developer, Supalai, we actually opened this video up with. Nothing wrong with it. But there's also nothing that makes it feel uniquely Phuket. Like I was just saying with that last townhouse unit, this could easily be suburban Bangkok, suburban Hua Hin, suburban Chiang Mai. Just no semblance of island living here, right? But you know, I guess if you're a small family, say 2 parents, say a kid, and you want something quiet and functional at a decent price, you know, this could be worth a look. Next up, this is another very much cookie cutter style single family home. This one's in the upper central part of Phuket, a bit more inland and away from the beach zones. And the interiors feel pretty Scandinavian inspired, very clean, very neutral, very livable, I would say. You also do get a small backyard, which is a nice touch here. I'd probably take this one over the previous one, but the trade-off is location. You're not particularly close to much. And again, it's just as standard gets. It's not necessarily a criticism, it's just a reality of a 50,000 baht per month budget if you need a single family home in Phuket, Thailand, right? Now, this one is a bit more interesting. Some of you will like it, some of you will hate it. But it's a standalone house, so it's not in a development, it's not in a Muban. You got 4 beds, bunch of bathrooms, it's in the Katu area in the southern interior of Phuket, and it's big, 230 square meters of indoor living space. And well, the listing says that this spot was built in 2016. It feels like it might be a bit older than that, but you know, some small renovations, who knows though. Like I said, it's a one-off development, one-off property, and it feels like it was probably built on a bit of a budget. That said, you do get a massive patio, a good amount of outdoor space, and more privacy and breathing room than you would in a gated community. It's not special, it's not flashy, but for someone who has this budget constraint and wants space, a little bit of separation, and maybe, you know, some nice outdoor areas to host dinners with family, with friends, this might work. Now, this next listing is less about the house itself and more about what it represents. I think it's an interesting concept here. So it's in a Muban that was built in 2008. And it's a really good example of how a lot of these developments age over 15 plus years. The home isn't necessarily in bad shape by any means. In fact, looks like there actually have been a few updates. especially in the bathrooms, but it's clear that the shine has worn off. 260 square meters, 3-bed, 3-bath, and located in Chalong. Again, that's the southern interior part of Phuket. It has all the basics you'd expect, but nothing luxury, and that's the point. What was probably marketed as a sleek and high-end development back in 2008 just feels a little bit tired and sleepy and dated. And for renters, that doesn't matter, because you can just switch developments. You can always get the newest stuff. They're always building in Thailand. But if you're a buyer and you're looking to buy either off-plan or fresh into a brand new development here in Thailand, be very, very, very mindful of how these places tend to age and how they look 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And by the way, just because you might take care of your place doesn't mean your neighborhoods will take care of theirs. And that really affects the overall vibe, feeling, and ultimate value of your property. So buyers out there, you should definitely be aware of that. Whew, okay, Phuket, I think we've covered. I think we get a good read on it. This is the last part of Thailand we're going to cover this video, and it's actually my favorite island on earth. It's Koh Samui. And right off the bat, just like Phuket, it is not cheap, especially the entire eastern half of the island, where prices have skyrocketed in recent years. We'll kick things off with this condo, which is in a low-rise building in a great part of the island called Plai Lem. I know this building very well. The unit itself is 85 square meters, 1 bed, 1 bath, very clean, very modern, 50K a month. Sounds expensive, but honestly, just like Phuket, that's par for the course, especially in this particular part of the island. Next up, here's another building I know very well, the Bay. It sits at the top of a hill in the same area in Plai Lem, which is the northeast of the island. So most units offer really epic sea views, but that comes at a price. This particular unit is just 58 square meters. My condo in Bangkok is double the size of that. Yet this place is a studio and it's 50,000 baht a month. Now, that might seem crazy, and it probably is, but what you're really paying for here is the view and the location. This is one of the more well-known, somewhat higher-end condo buildings on Samui. And sadly, like it or not, the market has shifted. This is reality. Gone are the days where you can get, a 3-bedroom sea view villa for 50 or 60,000 baht per month. It just doesn't exist anymore. Right? It's not even just Samui, in any of Thailand's top tourist areas. Next up, let's look at this building, which I've actually stayed in. This is a place called Replay. It's pretty close to the airport. It's close to Fisherman's Village walking street, some solid beaches, and right off the ring road. So the location's great. The development itself is average at best. It feels a lot like a very basic low-rise Bangkok condo. Nothing particularly high quality, just okay, just decent through and through. This unit, 70 square meters, listed at 48,000 baht per month. Well, there's nothing wrong with it. There's also nothing that really is good about it either, as far as I'm concerned. And, just like Phuket, it's going to get rented, and it's probably going to get rented at full price. Just because demand in these parts of this lovely country are that high right now, especially for rentals. That said, let's shift out of condos and into townhouses now. So this one here actually looks like a decent option at a decent price point. It's in a development that looks to be called the Rockwater Residences, which I wasn't familiar with, but it does look pretty nice. That said, I can see here on Google Street View that it's located at the top of a very steep hill, which is something to keep in mind in these parts of Thailand, especially during rainy season, and or if you're renting a motorbike instead of a car. That said, the place looks solid, east facing, with sea views over the Gulf of Thailand, so you're getting that sunrise view each morning. The unit's listed at 180 square meters, which feels generous. You know, I'd want to see it in person to confirm that, but I'll take their word for it. But the layout does look comfortable. I guess there's probably lots of short-term renters here, but even so, if this is actually 180 square meters, this seems to be pretty decent value for a townhome, but I don't know if it's 180 square meters. Okay, next up, this one's interesting. It's listed as a townhouse in Baht, supposedly right near Fisherman's Village, which, if true, definitely explains the 55,000 baht per month price tag. It's a very premium part of the island. Fisherman's Village is really awesome. But here's where it gets fuzzy. The unit's listed at just 90 square meters. And that's not a lot of space. Compare that to the previous townhouse, which claimed to be 180 square meters for a lower price. And naturally it raises questions, right? Now, it might come down to location. That could be the explanation, because if this is actually right near Fisherman's Village, this is a far better part of the island, but it's still a good example of why you should always question what you see in these listing websites, whether it's Fazwaz, DD Property, Facebook, Property Scout, whatever, right? These are great platforms. It's a good way to get a read on what's available and at what prices, but you need to do more due diligence. You just have to see these places in person before I think you even consider renting them long term. That said though, this place looks clean, looks modern, pretty well kept. If the location checks out, it might justify the price, as crazy as it sounds. I'd want to see it though. Now this next one, actually, funny enough, looks like it might be in the same development as what we just looked at. I'm not saying that as a fact, but just the style and location, you know, does line up here. Anyways, it's 4-bedroom, 3-bed townhouse that says it's just a 7-minute walk from Fisherman's, which, again, if true, is a ridiculously good location. But this is what I don't get, right? Like, this is what I mean. This shows it's listed at 150 square meters, where the last one was listed at 90 square meters. They both claim to be in the same location, yet they're both priced at the same 55,000 baht a month. Like, how does that make sense? I don't understand it, right? Like, something's got to give. Something's not true here. I'm missing something. And that's why it's so important to question the details. You know, I've lived here for 4.5 years and it still takes some time to figure this out, right? Nonetheless though, let's shift out of townhouses and into single family homes. Now, this one here is interesting. It's part of a small development and it's basically a 1-bed, 1-bath detached villa with a plunge pool. What makes this unique is the layout. It looks like your bedroom is upstairs, fully enclosed with AC, but your kitchen and dining area are downstairs in open air. So technically, every time you want a morning coffee or an afternoon snack or whatever, you just want to go to your kitchen or you just want to leave your bedroom, you got to go outside, which is kind of crazy. You know, it's covered, sure, but still, that's not really conventional. I don't like it. I don't want my bedroom, I don't want to be in my bedroom all day, you know, if I just want aircon. Like, I don't want to work in my bedroom all the time, right? So, you know, this obviously is more of a house style resort than it would be for somebody that actually wants to rent it long term. That said though, the location, epic, hard to Plai Lem, the bathroom's nice, and the bedroom views are pretty good. That's probably why this place is priced what it's priced. Yeah, now this option here, this is a way better example of what actual long-term living on the 50,000 baht per month budget would look like. So this is also in Plai Lem. So again, great location, 3-bed, 1.5 baths, about 190 square meters. It's basic. It's a little bit Thai style, I get it, but it is clean, it's functional, it looks pretty well maintained, the kitchen's decent, the upstairs rooms look fine, and overall, it just feels like something that's pretty livable, pretty nice for living day in and day out. You know, for me, I'd pick something like this 10 times out of 10 over what we just covered, no questions asked. Let's move on here though. So, Okay, well this one's a nice little 2-bedroom bungalow in Mae Nam, which if you don't know, Mae Nam's kind of the northwest part of Samui. It's a decent area. It's not my favorite area, but there's people that love it. And this home's a pretty good example of what you can expect, I guess, at the 50K per month price point overall on the island. Like if I had to draw what I thought you could get as a single family home for 50,000 Thai baht per month, this would be it. This would be what I draw out. It's a detached house with a plunge pool. Nothing here really stands out as luxury. It does look pretty functional though. There are some signs of wear and tear, some gunk around the sink area, some gunk around the fridge, some scuff marks on the walls. You know, that's not uncommon in a lot of these island rentals. You know, personally, anytime I ever move into a long-term place ever, I always hire an independent cleaning company to come in for a deep full-day clean just to reset everything. You know, remember, these places are often used, especially in the islands, for short-term stays. So you likely want to give whatever property you rent a little love and care as you're moving into it. You don't want to deal with the gunk from the previous tenants, right? All right, finishing things off here with a very Thai-style home in Bang Rak, one of my favorite little parts and pockets of Koh Samui. So we got a 2-bed, 2-bath property, single family home. It is a bit dated, but I mean, look at this. This is so well cared for. It's clean. It looks pretty well built. And this is just one of those places where if you've got a bit of vision, you know, you could rent this for the long term and you could really make it your own and make it shine. Just swap out, you know, some of the pieces of furniture, you know, throw down a couple nice bright area rugs, update the bedding, and suddenly, you know, this starts to feel like a nice space, right? You know, it looks like there's a little plunge pool, Thai-style outdoor kitchen, and a front balcony surrounded by some decent landscaping. You know, it might not look like it at first glance, but like what I was just saying, this is exactly the kind of place that could offer really solid long-term value, especially if you plan to stay there, if you ended up renting there for like 5 years, you know? Plus, you can just tell from the photos that this place has been really well looked after and the landlord obviously cares. So you'd probably be dealing with, you know, somebody that cares, which is nice. Okay, so that's it. That's 55 properties that we've just covered. We've gone on a full tour around Thailand, some of the most popular expat spots in the entire country. We've covered a lot of ground. And we've looked at what $1,500 per month, 50,000 Thai baht, gets you from north to central to south. And, you know, if we were going to boil this video down to a few things, this would be it. These are some of the key takeaways. So first off, remember, there's no centralized portal for listings in Thailand. The real estate market here is so fragmented. It's a bit of a mess. And it's unfortunate, but it's just the reality of renting or even buying in Thailand. Second off, what you get for your money varies a lot depending on where you're looking. As you saw, 50,000 baht in Chiang Mai gets you something very different than 50,000 baht in Koh Samui or in Phuket. So if that's your budget, like if your budget is like I'm not spending more than 50K a month, 1,500 US dollars, and having a really, really awesome property is important for you. Yeah, there's different parts of the country, you know, that you might want to rank higher, right? If you're not willing to sacrifice certain things. It's too bad, but that's just, that's the reality of Thailand these days. Next up, in terms of actual platforms, like what I use to gather all of these listings, I actually found Facebook Marketplace to be where a lot of my favorite listings came out of. So that's a pretty good tool. Like I said, you will have to sift through a bunch of junk, but if you're patient, you can uncover some pretty good listings. I also found DD Property to be pretty solid in terms of, you know, availability and interface. There's good sorting options. And then Fazwaz definitely had the most like foreigner friendly user interface. But I found that a lot of the listings on FazWaz, it was just hard to know, are they available or not available? Whereas DD Property had just a nice ability where it showed when the listing was uploaded. So that was cool, and that was just my thoughts on some of the platforms. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I hope this was a good video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found it helpful, just do me a favor. Hit the like button below. Subscribe to this channel if you want. And also, if you want more information-heavy content like this, then you should check out my weekly newsletter. We go even deeper into what life is actually like over here. We cover visas, housing, healthcare, all that kind of technical stuff. And with all that said, thanks for watching. I know this was a really, really long video, but hopefully those chapter functionalities made it easy to bounce between sections. So with that said, thank you, cheers, and we'll see you in the next one.